Hi, I'm Paul. I'll have a slide in a second about me, but this is a talk that's supposed to be about PyCharm, but I want to use this as a Trojan horse to talk about a pattern in Pyramid that I want everyone to adopt. You're the ones that are going to adopt it. It's all those people who use routes, which I refer to as the wrong way, that need to pick this up for their SQL Alchemy application. So along the way, I'm going to show that, but first I've got to do the I love me slide. A little bit about me. I've been around for a long time. Two funny jokes on this. I was at PyCon India 3 weeks ago, and this guy from Red Hat says to me, "How long have you been doing Python?" And I said, 1992. And he said, "That was the year of my birth." I punched him. A little asshole. Of course, for me, it's like, punch him in the face. And then I'm giving my talk, 90 people in the room, and I do a warm-up. I got this slide up, okay, 90 Python people. These aren't JavaScript people, these are Python people. And I say, raise your hand if you've heard of Zope. I didn't say, raise your hand if you've used Zope, just heard of it. 10 hands went up. It killed me. So, raise your hand if you've heard of Zope. Yeah! Suck it, PyCon India. But we have Jim Fulton here who's giving a talk later today. He's out in the hallway. And I believe it's correct to say, if you look at the thing that started the thing that became Zope, that Zope is 20 years old. And I'm going to give a lightning talk entitled The $20,000 Floppy and the $100,000 Pearl, if you want to hear more on that topic. But let's all, for a moment, appreciate the fact that Jim freaking Fulton was at least 10 years ahead of his time. There are people still struggling to catch up with ideas that were number 37 on his list of great ideas. So it's great to see him here. Great to hear what he's going to talk about. So in this talk, we're going to do a tour of PyCharm. You can either view it. Oh, by the way, this was the podium configuration when I walked in. Spot the problem? Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay? Can you see me? No, you can't see. So, you can either view it as this is a thin excuse of PyCharm to see Pyramid, or a thin excuse of Pyramid to see PyCharm, but we're going to try and do a walkthrough of a particular pattern in Pyramid showing PyCharm driving the way on it. What is PyCharm? It's an IDE. It's an IDE for Python development. It's also an IDE for web development. When you get PyCharm Professional, you also get all of our other IDE called WebStorm, which is for JavaScript, HTML, CSS, etc. In fact, all of our IDEs are on top of this thing called IntelliJ. So 95% Java, 5% Python, which if there's ever a problem, we just get to say it's Java's fault. Fonts? Sorry, that's a Java problem. So we have an IDE for a lot of things. We have an IDE for databases. The community version of PyCharm is free and open source. So if you woke up today and thought, what I'd really like to do today is go wade through 900,000 pounds of Java, go to GitHub, find the community edition, take a look at it. The professional edition does web development, remote Python interpreters, Vagrant, SSH, Docker, etc., database stuff. And it's what you would expect from an IDE. Raise your hand if you're using PyCharm. All right, that's pretty good. Raise your hand if you're using Sublime. Everybody else's hand goes up. Yeah, I know how it works around here. When you want to move out of editor into give me more help me program, help me integrate my other tasks like Git, databases, etc. Okay, I admit it's not aimed at you. Features such as working with Git. I can't use Git from the command line anymore because I just pointy-clicky. Rebase, I don't know. Rebase is the thing that happens behind the dialog box when I'm not looking. Graphical, visual debugger, visual test runner, database, etc. Over to Pyramid. Raise your hand if your fingers have ever typed from pyramid import any damn thing. Good. God loves you. We're going to talk about the idea of context, which is very familiar to those of us in the right way, meaning the Plone and Zope way. And in SQL Alchemy, arranging for your views to not have queries in the middle of the view. When you do that, your view is easier to test, it's easier to look at, and it also lets the framework take over some of those hard problems for you, like security. I'm not talking about traversal per se in this, but if I had another hour, I would continue and show traversal in SQL Alchemy. 6 feet up's obligatory, give feedback. Remember, you don't have to give me a perfect rating on this talk because it's anonymous, but we'll find you anyway. Okay, onward. I'm going to go to my GitHub repo that I'm working on. And I'm going to click over here because the screen is going to be. I'm going to make a change and I'm going to say to do listing. And then I'm going to walk up to my project. I'm going to do the first thing everybody should do in a project, which is get up to date. See, right behind me, I don't have to know anything that's going on. And it's doing the git pull, and it's telling me what's different, and I can look at the diff, use a command D, apply changes, keep them, whatever. Look at all the things that came down in that. All right, and then, maybe I'm going to do some work here. I do not trust myself, so demo, I'll make a new branch. So now I'm on that branch. And in the background, I'm already running Pyramid, so I get to do listing. What was running Pyramid? PyCharm was running Pyramid. One of the coolest features, one of the first most useful features in PyCharm is it manages your running for you. So, for example, if I have an error, it's going to give me a traceback with hyperlinks for each file. I click on it, opens the file on the line of the error. You guys are probably used to that, so I'm not going to demo it. All right, now, in this, I have a to-do list in a table called to-dos. It has this as my SQL Alchemy schema from base. Do I really trust that? I mean, it's SQLite. Is that really what's in there? Wouldn't it be awesome if I could drag this over here and, just, double click on here and add number, or call that number 3. Save it, and then come over here, go to my listing, and I say 3. This is where we have embedded our IDE for a database product called DataGrip. If you buy the professional version of PyCharm, you get a database explorer with I didn't type that right. It's got to be a string. Filtering, etc. And then lots of other industrial strength things to go with your database on that. Now let's go over in the pyramid thing. I've got my listing of to-dos is kind of the old-fashioned stupid way. I've got routes that point to views that point to a route name. Wouldn't it be nice if we could kind of go in the direction, and the more important thing is right in the middle of my view, I do a query to the database. Which means, if I want to write a test for this, I've got to mock up the freaking universe, blah, 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 blah. And worse than that, I don't get some of Pyramid's cool access control with permission, matching on different view predicates based on the context that's passed in. Do you remember the good old days in Zope when you could just do context? I want that back. So let's do that. Along the way, let's show one thing that is kind of nice in PyCharm. We have these things called refactorings, which do your work for you. Want to rename a file? Well, what if it's imported over there? And what if it's in Git and there's the history on it? You let PyCharm do it, it will go find all the bodies and rebury them. So if I have to-dos, wrong name. The pattern in SQL Alchemy is plural for the table, singular for this. So if I refactor rename to to-dos, and I'm going to also look in comments because Pyramid has a string syntax for doing configuration includes. I'm going to do a refactor, and it's gone and done everything. Let's hope that it did it correctly. So this still works. It went and renamed all my stuff, all my imports, all my pointers at that symbol were fixed for me. Now I want to get back to doing the context. So what I'm going to do is a pattern where instead of a service-oriented architecture, I'm going to hang off of my models some static methods that are going to look up the context for me. So I might have def list self, and then it's going to get the request past it so we can get to the database. And I'm going to say return request.db session query for all to do, tab complete. That's nice. All. Does that look right? Any SQL Alchemy people want to say that I'm wrong before I make a fool of myself? Look all right? Okay. Back in my routes, I want to have a pyramid route factory just for this route. Watch for a second. I need to keep track of my time. Watch for a second. I'm going to say to do. I haven't imported it, right? But in PyCharm, I can say import this name. And it did my import for me. And I'm pointed at the method on to do, which is also auto-completable. And now in my view, I would like to use context. So I'm going to put context in. Now, do I trust myself? Do you think I trust myself? I don't trust myself, which is why I'm a PyCharm user. Is that an endorsement? I don't think so. I'm going to put a breakpoint there, and I'm going to run this under the debugger. But we've got a pretty cute debugger. It's graphical and things. So now when I come back and I do my listing, did I not put that in there? I thought I put that in there. Oh, sorry. I'm going to make this a class method. And then this is class, and then this is class. All right, so automatically restarts down here. And I stop at my breakpoint. Do I have it right? Do I have it right? Do I have it right? Context is an instance of to-do list models. So I got the context right. I used my debugger. We spent money. We shared the debugger back in with Eclipse, open source, cool. And we paid the Eclipse guy money to convert PyDevD, our debugging backend, to Python. So we have a 4x speed up in our debugger performance, which means I can run under the debugger all the time, not when I just need to debug. Because otherwise, if you're running it under the regular run, you're like, I'll just put a print statement in here. I don't want to fire up the debugger. Well, the debugger's always fired up. So I'm going to go ahead and resume this. And now, looking at this, I think, okay, well, I could take the query out of my view now. That's a neat looking view. A lot simpler, a lot easier to reason about. Okay? Now I could actually go a little bit further on this. I could go to my template, my to-do listing template. And here I have to-dos, but this is pyramid. I've got a top level value automatically in here. I could do that, and that will still work. Oh, nope. Did I say the wrong thing? What did I do wrong?
So you're returning to-dos as content.
Yeah. So I'm going to return an empty dictionary here. And hopefully my template has the right thing. Yeah. Nope.
You need to return a list. Because you call all, right? You're returning a list out of your model.
Oh, sorry. I am returning, so it's that. Yep. Okay, so I've got my listing. In fact, I'm going to make that change because that was the way I wanted to do it originally. I'm going to go back and have my factory return just to do. And then this would be .list. Let's use this as an opportunity. Prepare to be dazzled. Watch this, watch this. What do you think? It's restarting. It's going to need the request. That's why I flip-flop back and forth between wanting that. And let me get out of that. Go back to just having context the way it was for the first time. Okay, restarting. And I don't have my breakpoint there. I stopped in the middle of Jinja 2. And I've got my context. All right, so that's pretty cool. And then I said that this was all about cool test writing. So I wonder if PyCharm could help me on that. So let's say navigate to my test. I don't have a test yet, so I will let it write my test for me. And then when I want to execute it, why don't you run it in the pretty cute, awesome, configurable visual test runner that PyCharm has. So for example, I can turn it on to auto mode. And so as I type, it's going to wait 2 seconds and run again and fail again. And I could say 1 equals 1 to get it to succeed, and it will run again. But I might want to say, you know, from models.whatever, import this, that, and the other thing. I'll just make this quick because I'm not smart enough to know the implication of it. This is the IDE story. I don't know what that button does, but it's pretty. And so I've heard that coverage was important. Maybe if I click it, something will happen, and I don't have to go spend the rest of the afternoon learning the definition of coverage and what parts of my code don't have good coverage. I've also heard that performance matters, but if I cared about performance, I wouldn't be using Python. But if I had to learn Java, I wouldn't be a programmer. So where's my performance problem? Well, I could hook up a profiler, but it sure would be nice if I could just click a button, you know, and have a graph that I could zoom in on and see my profile statistics with 3 different backends for profiling, including the line profiler from PyPy, so that you can get the benefits of accurate profiling without the performance hit. That was my timer. That was the end of my talk. Any questions? I've never finished on time before. So the best 2 words of any talk, in conclusion, PyCharm, nice IDE for people who need help with your programming tasks in Python, your web development tasks, because you know Angular 2, you don't just learn that yourself. You're going to need some help for that. Your database, your Git, your test runner, your coverage, your profiler, all of these things. If you feel like you're that kind of market, the PyCharm people are fantastic. We already support Python 3.6 as an example. So we stay up to date with the latest in PyCharm. And for the pyramid people, if you're doing any SQL alchemy stuff, let's start teaching people about context. Let's start teaching people about views that can be more easily tested and about view config statements that can say context equals to do, and then we're off to the races with the rest of the predicates. Any questions? All right, come to my lightning talk. The title is The $20,000 Floppy and the $100,000 Pearl. I'll tell you the story behind those 2 business mistakes this afternoon. Thank you.